Good morning. It's Lorelei with Radiate Life with Lorelei, and I'm here this morning. I was going to be outside, but it's like 11 degrees. I have my endowing crystal on today, and I just wanted to come in and do a quick video. I have my beautiful, lovely pendants, which are empowered, that I always love to wear. So I thought I would come in and do a quick video. The reason why I'm doing this is because this comes into the category of why we meditate, why we sleep well, why we get up in the morning and connect with our dreams, connect with our inner guidance, whatever you connect with, your spirit guides, your loved ones, your inner plane helpers, your group leader of your soul consciousness. I want to first by just saying everyone is okay. What I'm going to tell you is something you may or may not want to listen to if this is a trigger for you. So this is about driving, but it's also about my husband seeing something because he leaves about an hour early before I do, and about how he's able to navigate through a situation. So I'm going to first read the text that between my husband and I did add a little bit of detail because, of course, when I text him, we already have the understanding of what's going on. So I put in a little details to help you. And then there's a few other details of things that happened along the way. And it is very much like that movie Groundhog's Day. This is what I think about so many times. It's like in our life, sometimes it is this Groundhog Day. Why? Because the universe, because our loved ones, because inner guidance, because our higher self, our I am wants us to do well, is here for us. And part of that is learning and making mistakes. Yes, part of it is if we're not truly growing, if we expect everything to happen and it happens, right? Like here we are, I'm embodied, you're seeing this, I'm here. So it means that we're here, we're going to be growing, because if we're not, we stagnate. No matter where we're at, no matter how many dimensions up, even, those that are at archangel status that are still in our lives, their infinite awareness that we're having. So anyway, I don't want to make this too long this morning. Here is the text. So my husband just writes to me, hey, the roads are no bueno, no good. And be careful out there. So then I wrote back because I didn't see it when I left this morning, the text he sent me, but when I parked the car and was coming in the house, I was thinking, okay, I want to do a video, but it was too cold outside to do it. So I read his message and I said, thank you. You are very intuitive. I said, this morning I got up and I did my extra meditation. And this meditation is where I place myself and my childhood self, or my inner child, in a pink and purple sphere. It's a really beautiful meditation, but that's what it's called, meditation of pink and purple sphere, spherical, okay, or a bubble, okay? So anyway, so I said, so on my way back from dropping off at our local high school, somebody pulled out in front of me when I was coming back, and I was crossing the train tracks. The train tracks were super snowy. I'll explain a little more later, but I'll just go with the short version. The train tracks were super snowy, so I was crossing the tracks. Two people pulled their cars right in front of the train tracks. So there's a little tiny side street, and they pulled them right out in front. And there were already cars in the other lane. So what that meant is they effectively blocked me off. And it wasn't one, but it was two. And they're in my lane. It caused my lane to be blocked. There was a bus in the lane next to me. Buses, they have to come to a complete stop before proceeding. Well, this is one of those few cases where that rule saved me from being hit by a bus, and also two cars, like me hitting the two cars, or the two cars, they put themselves in harm's way. I'll come back to that in a second. The first car had damage. The first car pulled in front of me, a gray, Civic, pulled in front of me, and as they did, I could see the driver's side was all smashed in, and I thought, isn't that ironic? And it all happens very quickly, So they obviously had recently been involved in an accident. Same scenario, it was their side. They were pulling out in front of someone and hit them or whatever. But here they were again, just like Groundhog's Day. But I was in that experience too. So I had the presence of mind to be protected in the morning when I got up. I was mindful. And then I was also attentive and alert. I was in that really calm, peaceful place. Now I'm going to say, despite this craziness and potential could have gone sideways, I never felt my nervous system race. I never felt my heartbeat, but I was aware, attentive, and going through. But I'll tell you some other things that happened that morning, which actually helped me stay connected to myself and centered, still my mind. And I call that staying in the center of the storm. And I'll talk more about that. So anyway, that's where I was. So anyway, I said to my husband, you know what? All is good. Anyway, all is good. And I said, thank you for your love and support. Because what my husband didn't say is when he just said, be careful, roads aren't good. He didn't see me getting in an accident. He saw me navigating things, getting there and back, getting there and back. And that is the kind of intuitive, and that's telepathy. And the reason why I know that that's what he did is because this is how we work with each other. And especially now we have a lot of things that are going on in our life and in our family life, in our personal life, health and well-being and mental stability within our family and in our extended family. And so we have to be committed. We are made a vow to be committed to ourselves and committed to each other, and especially when it comes in tough times in parenting, to give each other grace, to lean into our own self-work, to not let the other person take up the slack or say, I've done enough this life, I'm done growing, basically. So that was really beautiful and really touching, and I was really grateful that he did that. And we've been working on a few things that I'll tell you more about. But one, we had a really good talk the other night, and we're diversity. Like, diversity is the name of our family, but love and commitment and loyalty and grace, forgiveness, and making mistakes is all a part of what my husband and I have created within our own individual selves, coming together, and collectively within our family sphere. We don't expect to be perfect. We just try to provide the resources in ourselves and in our relationship and in our environment so that our kiddos that are here our little Buddhas in our house can take from that what they need. And they're going to make their own mistakes. And we expect that. And we expect that everyone's doing what they need to do. And I know that's not always easy. Believe me, I'm like watching things, play out in front of me. And I'm thinking, wow, I messed up with that. I didn't teach them something, or they missed some steps. And at the end of the day, I have to say, I accept the fact that I see that. But this is really going to be an amazing life for them, right? Okay, so I just want to stop there. I want to go back to the situation this morning. So I want to say that I'll start by saying, yes, I did set myself up yesterday addressing some things that were tough that needed to be addressed. Like you can't, like life, in order to be graceful and flowing, you also have to recognize there are things that get caught up or wound up. You have to unwind things. You have to cut cords. You have to let go of things. You have to be attentive, and you have to be aware. Some people say mindful, which is good, but you need to be mindful, which is your brain. And you need to be heartfelt, which is your emotions, and that's your male and female together. That's your left brain and right brain together. Okay, I just want to throw some of that out there so that you can see where this connection goes. It's like your left hand and your right hand coming together in harmony in your body, right? So I got up in the morning. I was reminded of these beautiful meditations that one of my mentors created. My mentor has not been teaching for a couple of years, and is still here on earth and is showing us this next dimension of transformation as they are, like, if that makes sense, like this ascension process, if you will, whatever it is that you understand it, but being here, but being someone who supports the universe, not just all the soul groups, but now supports the universe and is still embodied and here, but they're not doing direct teachings. You have to let go of being able to work on, like, I'll say individual relationships, even groups of people, even collective consciousness, to all consciousness. This is the way that I see it in my mind when I'm thinking about those steps, to give some kind of reference, but ultimately we let go of all reference points and we're comfortable with that. So I want to say the other thing is, so I got up in the morning, put myself in this really beautiful pink and purple sphere, and I did this meditation with my beautiful teacher's voice, my mentor's voice, and it really brought joy and satisfaction. And we were working on any childhood hurts or childhood thoughts or experiences. It could be pre-birth, it could be in utero, and those are some of the ones you have to go deep that you won't even have a conscious awareness of, right? So I did that this morning, and I got up and I took care of my animals early, like I did. It's Friday, and I'm like, usually by Friday I'm like doing everything last minute because I'm like, it's Friday, I gotta get through the day. But I got up, got them taken care of. My child, high school, not child, teenager, going to school, blah, blah, blah. They're on their own. They're doing really good about getting more and more on their own. Good morning. Gave me some feedback. It was really good. I'm moving through my morning. I'm very mindful. I'm watching today. I cleared a bunch of things. There's things that come up. I'm going to be very mindful. I'm going to enjoy this day. I'm not a cold weather person. I grew up in Southern California. It's 70 degrees in San Diego. Seems like a lifetime away for me, but that's what I grew up with. So it's cold, but I'm okay. And I have my car, my Subaru. I mentioned my Subaru because that was a manifestation. And that was, so it'll be 2 years in March. And my husband and I said, let's consciously manifest this next car. Because we always save up money. We pay cash for it. That's something he implemented when we were married. It'll be 24 years. Our anniversary is Sunday of our date of our meeting. So 24 years ago. And I was like, it was a stretch for me at the time, but I did it. And so then when we were looking at, for a long time, we didn't update the cars. We lived on a budget, right? We have 3 children, and we were living off of one income because with everything going on with children and doctor's appointments and teachers, and I was home, and I was grateful for that, but I was home and not working an outside job because motherhood is a full-time job. and then some. You don't punch out. So anyway, so there was that. So I get out, we're going, and things are not like 100% in the morning. Like, we're not getting out on time. It's not smooth. It's not this. It's not that. But I remain centered and I remain calm. And I was just having a conversation with my business partner yesterday when we were talking about one of the most important. What are the 3 most important things? And let me see if I can pull it from memory, which is good. So the first one is to have a still mind. But it's not only having a still mind. I think I'll just focus on that. The most important thing is to have a still mind. So again, my image is you're in the eye of the storm where there's the storm's going around you. But they always say in that center, it's very calm and peaceful. So having a still mind, but then knowing when my mind is not still and knowing when my mind is still. Because how do you know when your mind is still? By recognizing when your mind is not still. And then having tools, having an awareness. First of all, it starts with awareness. I have to be aware, right? I notice afterwards in the situation that I didn't have a nervous system episode where I was feeling panicked or I was feeling scared or any of that might be going on. Then what happened was we have to have that awareness. Awareness is the first key. So like if you're aware that something happened, like the first thing is say, oh my gosh, whatever my natural reaction is, and follow that up with, I'm really glad I had that. Maybe it was something that we did in error. Maybe it was something that was conscious or unconscious. We might call it a mistake, or we might call it just not knowing. But it brings up our awareness that there is another choice or there is another possibility, right? So that's to be embraced. It's to be celebrated. You can tribal scream at it. You can stomp on the ground. You can do whatever to get that energy out in a good and loving way, right? But being aware of getting that out. But this particular situation with the car, it was showing me how I'm able to do that. And the key is being aware and being in the present moment, right? So we do have to work on our nervous system. We do have to work on our tools, or however you're led to do that, so that you are embodying it, you're integrating it. We're here to live, right? I'm a householder. I'm here to live. I signed up to have all this stuff going on in my life. So when I stepped out the door, we got on the road, and I continued one of my healing practices that's on tape in the car. So that's another thing. I was very mindful. So there's this healing that I do, and it has a component to it that has an affirmation, and then it has an inner guide that we call, and then it also has a signature, or it's what you might say, you dial someone's phone number. It looks like hieroglyphics. It looks like that kind of scribbly thing. You might know it as light language. It's called many different things. It's in many different areas. Even a crop circle is like light language for the earth to give it upgrades. So I'll throw that out there. Fascination, right? So fascinating. Learn more about those crop circles and connect. So then as I'm going down, I mean, it was actually kind of nice, because this morning we are right by train tracks, and we're right by an industrial park. So there's like literally around the corner from me are semi trucks, because they park there and they pull in and out, and it's only a two-way street. It's very small. So anyway, so I'm going out, and I'm going to turn right at a stoplight, again, very small, and the trucks come through, and they block those lanes because they're so big. There are only two lanes on that street, and they have to block the lane. And we have problems with that too, because it's not good. They're not conscientious of the cars. They feel like the cars have to be conscientious of them, and we've learned I have to be, or I could be wiped out. Anyway, so I turn, and everything's good, because the cars, there's a train that's coming, so traffic is stopped. So then there's a railroad track, and cars are backing up, and they're backing up, and I'm turning right, and so you won't be able to go far. But there was a person who was probably on their phone or something, or decided that they were going to sit there because it probably was going to change. And so that allowed some of the cars, like me and a couple of the cars, to go ahead and line up and get into line to be able to move into the lane of traffic. So that all happened. I was like, this is really beautiful, because that doesn't usually happen. I'm like, I'm going to go with the flow of traffic. I'm going to make sure that when I go, I'm aware, and I'm just kind of watching, and it is kind of this little magical thing, because I was in this meditation, I was in this groove, I had my healing music on. Part of it again is like affirmation, part of it is music, part of it is, these symbols, these sigils that are placed in our environment. Anyway, so we're driving, and then the first thing that happens is I go down a side street, and the side street, there is a small private bus that picks up students that are going to a specialty school. Now, the thing about it is, yes, it's a white bus, and you totally can tell it's a bus. However, it doesn't have the lights on top, and it doesn't have a stop sign pull out on the side. Do you know what I'm talking about? But it is, and you see the doors open, and you see teenagers getting into the bus. So that's a school bus. So the other day I came through there, and I stopped, because my husband and I have had conversations about this before, about stopping in buses and things like that. And so the car in front of me went around the bus, and I was like, okay, that's a school bus. That's illegal. And then there was a car in back of me, and he was trying to get around me, because he was like, oh, she's not going to go around. But anyway, I was able to maneuver the situation where I was able to kind of parlay my position to stay in the bus, so that the bus was able to then pull out, and we all went on our way. And because the kids had gotten in by then, and they were in the bus, and they took off right away. So again, I felt like, okay, this is going really good. You pay attention to Groundhog's Day, right? Like, okay, this is good. That was a great scenario. Let's all keep moving along. So we keep moving along, and we get to the next street, and everything's good. We get onto our main street. Everything's good. And I pull in, and I drop my student off, and I go to pull out. And there again, this is another place where a couple of days this week, it's a driveway that's right by the school, but it also goes onto our it's called Main Street. So, it's like the main artery of our town. So I go to pull out, and I have plenty of room to pull out, and the person who is next on Main Street coming up where I am has already slowed down and stopped, recognizing that I'm pulling out of that driveway, and the light is red. The light's red. So I'm pulling into that. But 9 out of 10 times what happens is we have student drivers that block that off because they are literally about 500, 600 feet from the light, and they're going to turn right to go into their parking lot, right? So I'm aware of that, but I'm also expecting things to go well. So anyway, so that did, right? So you can see I'm already like, oh, this is really nice. We're in the flow with things. Okay. So then I'm going down Main Street. Everything is all good. And I get to a stoplight, which is the second stoplight, which is not that much further, but now it's probably the length of a football field from the 500 feet. There's a stop from me. I go right and there's a stoplight. There's 500 feet. There's a stoplight. That is the main entrance to our school. Then the kids have to cross that street and go in. Then about a football, literally, okay, maybe 2 football fields, because there literally is a football field on the left side behind the school. So there's like 2 football fields, and then there's another light, and that's another main artery onto everywhere. So I'm going to turn right there. So there is a hospital that is like maybe about 3 or 4 blocks away, but again, it's Main Street. It's the main way to get there. It's not uncommon for fire trucks and ambulance and all that to be coming through this intersection. So yes, so today I'm at the light, and then there's an ambulance that comes through this intersection. Now, this is all kind of plays into the story because it's why I was on a high, but felt like I said protected situation. And again, remember the title of this is why we meditate, why we stay connected, why we remember our dreams, why we get up in the morning and set our intention and move out with awareness in our day so that we can navigate it well and with the bumps and things that come along, right? And so here we are. So the ambulance comes through and I'm like, okay. And remember, I've got this music going on. I've got these affirmations going on. I've got these sacred keys and codes that are being activated in my environment, in my car, and 100 feet around me and 500 feet around me, right? I'm invoking for the protection of my car, and, do whatever you invoke. And if you want some ideas, I have some ways to do that as well. So I'm implementing this, and I'm like, okay, this is good. And the music's going on in my car, right? Playing on my car speakers. And I'm just in the zone. I'm very alert. I'm very attentive. I'm very like in that happy feely space, but I'm aware. I'm not out of my body. I'm completely in my body. It's snowing. I still have to be careful. So I see the ambulance and I surround them in love and protection. I ask, for everyone in that situation to have healing and support and joy and know they're taken care of, whatever that situation is, right? So then you just kind of let that go. They go by. I'm like, okay, so still in that, place. I'm really happy that I had a moment to be able to send that to somebody who needs it, because I would want that for my loved ones. I would want that for myself. So we treat other people as we want to be treated, right? So then I turning right on this main street, right? And then it's, it's about a half a mile, and then there's another stoplight, and I'm going to turn right again. That's the street that is the main street that I turn off of where I cross the railroad tracks in order to get to my house. But it's about 1.5 miles from where I'm turning right all the way down. So as I make that corner, I can see flashing lights down at one point because it's a little bit hilly. And I see lights and I'm like, so my perception is there's an accident. My perception is perhaps that ambulance that I saw was going over to the tracks over by my house. And it's not uncommon. So then I'm like, that is interesting. So I'm sending love and support, because whether or not it is an accident, I mean, it could be a bus. It could be a snowplow, right? It could be utility, because our snowplows, I don't think they have a red light, because this has a red light. So anyway, I was like, it doesn't matter what it is. I'm going to send love and support to it. I'm going to place this in my light explosion, right? I'm going to place this in this awareness, right? And I'm like, that would be really crazy if that really did happen at the train tracks, because that's right by my house. And I'm like, maybe I need to go a different way. I start like feeling into the situation to get more information. What's my body experiencing? Where am I? Now, on my way on my way to drop my high school student off, I'm also having some really deep downloads going on. And I'm like, okay, can we like make sure that this information comes to me when I'm not driving? Because that was really good information. And you know, it was interesting because the information was something, it's kind of like a dialogue going along with an experience. There's like this narrator narrating to me what it is that I'm experiencing and what it would, why I'm doing it and how beneficial it is. And some really important things to make sure that people know if they want to know them. So what the thing was that comes to me to say, it's about calibrating ourselves. If you're going to use a compass, I'm so sorry about my dog. I cannot let him in. So if you hear him scratching, he is not being very patient. So I usually do healing in the morning and he comes in and he loves it. So he doesn't know I'm not doing that. That's out of our routine. So anyway, okay. So what came into my awareness was that when people, okay, I'll say the main thing. So the main thing is what came to my awareness is that if you have, let's say you have a compass. You're going out in the woods and you want to know which direction you're going in. So you're using, an old-fashioned compass, and you want to make sure you would want to make sure it's working properly. That we call it calibrated for north. Okay, so you want to make sure that your GPS is not GPS, you know what I mean. It's calibrated for north. Okay. I worked in a test and measurement facility, calibration and repair for test and monitoring equipment. And there was in medical spectrometers, a lot of different things. So anyway, I learned about that at Hewlett Packard. I thought that's fascinating. So basically what that means is like, there are certain things that go out of that are out of sync, like your scale. Like if your scale, you have to occasionally sync it up because it's not weighing properly. So any of these things, test and measurement equipment have to be calibrated. So even your car, certain components have to be calibrated, right? So it was saying to me, from what you've been taught, that it's not just enough to say, oh, okay, I'm going to start working on someone. This comes up a lot, especially in dowsing. And even in healing. So the first thing we do is we have to work on ourselves. Like this is me talking to myself. I have to work on myself. I have to make sure that I'm calibrated for good health. I have to make sure that I know what is true and what is not true. I need to have that physical awareness of it, and I need to have that emotional or mental or electrical awareness, right? Because you can just sense things, you can smell things, and you feel things in your body that tell you things are off, right? Often in your solar plexus, I might have had an experience in the past. My solar plexus felt really uncomfortable. And in the past I had an experience when I lived in Kansas City, Kansas, where I got up in the morning. In the morning, I had a dream, and in the dream, there was a map. It was an actual map and it was how I go to work, and it had a big X on it. And I went, well, that's interesting. So dreams are symbols, so I got it on the symbol level. But I'm like, I know dreams are intuitive too. Like, is this symbolic? Is this intuitive? I'm like, well, let me just stay aware and alert. And sure enough, I took a different way to work. Often I like to find different ways to work. I tried to break a habit by not going the same way, the same time all the time, right? And I use my intuition to find it goes in this order. What's the safest route to get there? What's the most interesting route to get there? And the third component for me was always to make sure that I got on time to work, or early. Always early is what I meant, is on time. To me, being on time to work was being 30 minutes early, at 15 at the bare minimum. Being there on the committed time is late to me. Okay, so I did that. And so I got to work and I was listening on the radio, and it said there was a major delay because there was an accident on the way that my dream showed me. So that's another reason for dreams. And in this situation, it wasn't like that, but in other situations, I have experienced that. And then listen to that information or not listen to that information and be in traffic for an extra 45 minutes, which was like, okay, I think next time I'll give that a go. I'll listen to myself a little more. But in this situation, it was saying calibrate yourself. It was saying align yourself with truth, align yourself with your I am, align yourself with the source of the universe. And there are a number of different ways to do it. But if you don't know what I'm talking about, then do a little research on this, and I'll do some other small videos about what that is and about why it's important so that you can make your own decision and make your own choices. But my inner guidance is saying it would be really good to put that out there. So I will do that. So here I'm thinking there might be something going on at that intersection. So this is all building my awareness, and I'm paying attention. I'm seeing the clues. I'm seeing the puzzle pieces, right? It's my perception at this moment in time is really important. And my perception is in the now. It's in the present moment. And again, it's in this music, and I'm connected, but I'm alert. I'm not out of my body. This is not music that takes me out of my body. This is music that takes me into my body, being aware of my environment, having heightened physical senses and intuitive senses and telepathic senses, right? So by the time I get to the train, by the time I get to a light right before the train tracks, I can see, there's nothing there. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. There wasn't any emergency vehicles or anything. But see, I'm already have that awareness of paying attention. And one of the things that I do also when I'm driving is, again, we've had this rule recently because we have really bad weather around here, is we've had some bad accidents. And I always make sure I do not look at the accident. I'm watching where I'm driving because, Gaper's block is a real thing. Do you know there's so many more accidents that are attributed to people not paying attention because they're trying to look at the horrific scene that's happening in front of them, right? They're like a fly drawn to the flame, and it's like we have to really be more aware and more mindful and be committed and safe as drivers, right, as together. So anyway, so I send the energy, I send love and support, put a big golden circle around it. When there's an accident, I also bless Mother Earth and ask for cleansing of that earth and that environment. Let's remove the residue of this. Let everyone have right thinking and right action. Let's have people be aware of what they're doing that caused this accident, right? Because there's a reason, but we also want to remove the residue. We want to remove that mark in time in my environment, in my house, at my school, and my streets, in my community. And I want to do it for all communities, but I do it for my community by proxy for all communities, right? So that's a good one if there's any major intersections or kind of tricky spots where people tend to have accidents. You go and you cleanse that every day. You can walk it, you can take a picture of it, you can map quest it, just let your heart lead you in how you're going to do that. If you are connected and you feel that you love doing it, whether it's an angel or it's a color or whatever creative thing comes to your mind, do that. That's we're all supposed to be living our own authentic creativity, hence my hat. All the different creativity. So the other thing I want to say, then it comes to these drivers. So I do see the bus, and I am not expecting these two cars to pull in front of me. Now there's maybe 1.5 car length. And I'm not joking because it runs right parallel. This one road runs parallel. It's like a frontage road to the train tracks. And you have to pass one lane of traffic. There is a small, it's not a turning lane. All right. There's a lane blocked off in the middle. It's not even a car's width. And it's clearly marked. It's like if there were a median there. They tell you when you see the strip with these marks in this color, that you may as well see there's a cement barrier there and tell yourself that's a cement barrier, so I would not cross that. But these drivers, and a lot of them do, went ahead and did it anyway. Now, again, I'm really lucky that I am in my Subaru because I test my brakes when I get in the car to see how slippery it is. I feather my brakes. I stay aware. I don't want to go too slow and I don't want to go too fast. I look for that perfect aligned, safe, alert place, right? Because you don't want to be too slow, then you cause a hazard. You don't want to be too fast because then you cause a hazard. You have to find that sweet spot. And with the streets, it's turning because different areas in the street have snow or ice or whatever. You know what I mean? And I have hilly places too. So I see the bus who stopped. And again, you know, that other bus, it reminded me of the other situation of the bus where I know that the bus is stopping and then I know the bus is going to go. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to get behind the bus. I'm going to get next to the bus, which is what we do. And I got to get, if I'm in the left-hand lane from the bus and turning, and I'm southbound, and then I have to turn at this next stoplight, which again is not very far. It's maybe, let's say it's a football field, if that, in length. So as I'm coming over the tracks, right, all of a sudden this gray car darts in front of me and in front of the bus, mind you. So this person did not have visibility because I know that bus was there. The bus is here. So they're here. So they cannot see me coming across. So they shouldn't go. But they went anyway. And like I said, plus the fact that that is not even a car's width. They get out in front of the bus, then they get out in front of me, and then they try to turn a little bit, but there's snow, there's stuff there. They're not getting out of that. So fortunately, again, the bus is stopped. Now the bus sees these two cars pull right in front of them. So they're like, they have an awareness of this. So they're not going. They're still waiting. They went to start go, but they're waiting. I could feel all this going on because it was quick. So then, and as they're going in front of me, I'm like, okay, I'm letting my car, and we're navigating the situation. And then another flash, another car gets behind this gray car. Now they can't see anything. The bus is blocking them. This other person went. They didn't have enough time to check to see if it was clear. They went because the other person went. So now there's two cars in my lane. There's nowhere for them to go. There's a bus next to me. There's nowhere for the bus to go because there's a building, there's no side, there's no nothing. There's building. That bus would go into the building. So I was able to go straight, and then I was able to cut over. So I'm going to have to go. There's someone here, but thank you so much for listening. Remember why we meditate, why we remember our dreams, and why we calibrate.